The State of JS survey results are in. We're going to talk about how AI is changing work, but not in a good way. And Next.js, it's getting hacked in the real world. Let's get into it. This is Front End Fire, your source for all things web development and front end related when it comes to news. And I am Jack Harrington, and with me are my friends and esteemed colleagues, TJ Ventole.
Hey, everybody.
And Paige Niederinghaus.
Hey. Good to be here.
Just back from lovely San Diego.
Yes. Oh, man. The weather was fantastic, and now it's cold. It's sunny, but it's cold here in Atlanta again, so back to normal.
All right. Well, lots of cool news this week. Let's get into it. Paige, let's talk about the State of JS survey.
Yes. So the State of JS survey for 2025 is out. The results are in, and there are some perennial winners, I guess we could say, and also some interesting new stuff. So let's talk a little bit about some of the new features. There were a lot of new JavaScript features that were added this year. There were new sorting functions for arrays that didn't mutate in the actual arrays themselves. There were some new features for sets and new features for objects. And no one is using the stuff for sets or for objects.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But they're so good.
I know.
Oh, well, sets I can understand because so often you're like, oh, right, this is actually a set. It's like a hindsight thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I use sets for is to remove duplicate values, and then I change it back to an array to do whatever else needs to be done with it after that.
Exactly.
So yeah. So, even though people might be aware of the new features or the new functions that have been added, they're just not using them. So, interesting. Everybody does like the new to sorted and to reverse and things like that. Those new array functions, those are being used and well liked. So that was interesting. The pain points, which also became the missing features, which also came into the native types. Everybody wants TypeScript as part of JavaScript.
Yeah. TypeScript's now number one.
Yeah. Lack of static typing. Static typing is the missing feature. Pain points are static typing and type annotations. Just across the board, that is what all JavaScript developers seem to want at this point.
Yeah, or type annotations, which was also listed on there. I think we don't necessarily want full-scale TypeScript being put into the library, but just some lightweight way of bringing it in would probably be a step in the right direction, and that seems to be what the community seems to be pushing for too.
Yeah.
If you need types, just go to TypeScript. I don't understand wanting to add a third thing here,
but then you have to have a compiler
light types.
But then you have to be able to transpile it, and people don't necessarily want to have build tools, even though we all practically use them anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, we aspire to not have build tools. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of build tools, everybody pretty much has used Webpack at this point. If you've used any sort of React framework or meta framework, you've probably used it, and no one likes it. It is at 14% positive sentiment. And everyone else has also used Vite, and everybody likes it. 84% of developers still like it. So, I mean, it just speaks volumes to what that team is doing and how they have managed to keep people liking their stuff and also using it. Because that is kind of the number one thing. They had this 4x4 quadrant of, as technologies come in, either people have heard of them, people have used them, and then positive or negative sentiment about them. And pretty much everything except for Vite follows this curve of I've heard of it and I'm interested in it, to I've used it and I like it, to I have used it and I don't like it anymore. And it's all kind of in this shape of a backward C, except for Vite. Vite is I've heard of it, I've used it, I really still like it even more than before. And then there are a few, Angular has come back around. Angular is getting positive sentiment again recently, so I assume that's from the newer releases.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but by and large, it's like people are excited and interested, then they like it, then they hate it, and then that's kind of the end of it.
I want to meet
Well,
the
even
16% of people that don't like Veet. Like, I mean, do you
Right?
also not like puppies and kittens and, like
Yeah.
lasagna? Like, who doesn't like Veet? How can you not like Veet? Like, what?
Yeah, there's
It just
only
works.
there's 113 people on the survey that said they've used Veet and have a negative survey, and that's out of 11,000 people that have
Responded.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not 80%, though. That's much more.
It's pretty impressive. And just to get at what Paige said too, it's even for some of the most popular tools on here, your Reacts and Next and such, there's a certain number of, once you get popular enough, there's going to be some negative sentiment just because you're just operating at such a ridiculous scale that you're not going to make everybody happy. Apparently, unless you're Veet, because they somehow seem to be immune to that.
Yes.
It just works.
There are some new entrants to, they kind of have this stack ranking of like, they give different frameworks, A, B, C, and then there's S, which is like superior. And that's like, I guess 90% of respondents like this particular framework. So let's see, Hano and Bun have entered that S superior level this year for the first time.
Nice. Yeah.
And then they are joined, or they are continued to be joined by Veet, Veet-Test, Playwright, and Astro. So clap for all of them.
Yeah,
good
it's
job.
not a bad group to be in.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, and good for, especially for Hano. That seems like a lesser used library, but from everybody who's used it, it sounds like they really like it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It's easy. And
Yeah.
people like that.
I flagged Bun later on too. Bun usage is up to 21%, which that's like a sizable chunk of people that have used Bun at some point. And the sentiment, people typically have a positive sentiment of using it too. So
Yeah, if you buy into Bun, then it's good.
Yeah.
The whole
you take
like,
the Bun pill.
take the
Bun pill.
if you red pill or whatever it is, Bun, yes, you're good. But it's interesting that like Dino isn't doing well on that. I think Dino's at like 11% or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot lower.
Yeah, that's tough. Dino's so good.
That's
Dang.
such a cute mascot. They
I
should get
know.
them more users.
I know. Yeah.
Well, typically how you try to stand out, Dino's problem is largely to me that they're kind of just trying to be a straight up replacement for Node and NPM, whereas usually the way you stand out in the crowd is you do something that's a bit different, which is definitely what Bun has done. And I feel like Bun is not best known for being a straight up replacement for Node, or they have everything. They have an NPM replacement and whatnot. They're best known for some of the things they're doing that are a little bit different, like their way of building runtimes that Claude Code is built on top of, and those sort of things. I feel like were their differentiating thing that made them stand out, and Dino just really hasn't had that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to be acquired by some big AI company really to get them to the next level.
That's the problem. They need to be acquired by AI.
There were some interesting stats though. So, and this kind of surprised me. The average respondent who answered said that they have used 2 to 3 front-end frameworks over their career. And this, I mean...
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
I don't know.
And
I'm not buying that.
I find that like a little low as well, especially because
I
the
find it
average...
high, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
And I thought it was just about right, so we've got a full Goldilocks
I got 3
situation
bears here.
well, I think back, and I've been working in web development now for just over 10 years, and I've used Angular at my first job, AngularJS, and then we switched to React, and then when I went to Blues, it was Next.js and Svelte, and then Svelte Kit, and it's just like that. And the average respondent also, and this demographics, was 5 to 9 years of working time, like working in web development. So maybe it's just that they haven't been around for that long, so they haven't tried that many frameworks. But even just like on your own, like on side projects, I've used jQuery in the way back days. I've used Gatsby. I'm using Astro. It's like It just seems low for as many frameworks as there are out there to choose from on the front end.
I wonder though, you might, if like, because when I filled out this survey, I've used, I mean, I think some of this is we are very much edge cases when it comes to this. The fact that we run a podcast like this is we've used way more of these frameworks than your average person has run. But even for me, I wouldn't say that I use something that like I casually used in one project 5 years ago. At this point, I would just say like, I don't have much of a memory of doing that. So I don't want to really skew the information on here. So there might be some degree of that. And I think there's also, for all the people that are really into front-end development that listen to this podcast or whatever, there's a lot of people that are just rank and file developers that might have just been plugging away on the same React app for the last, React's old enough. You could have spent those 6 to 9 years working on a big React app.
That's where my mind went. My mind was like, oh, okay. I know a lot of folks that are literally, that's all they've ever done is React. Mm-hmm. That's all they know. Yeah. The web is React. But then I wonder if people count, like mentally, they count React and Next.js as two different things, because you see this, I see this a lot. And then like on boards is, oh, really? Okay, interesting. Because they're
different enough. Yeah.
Okay. Then it would be two for those folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think React is like, our Next.js is built on top of React. So it's like, to me, that's,
well, it's weird because even on this, these surveys are getting harder because the lines are getting a little bit more blurry than they used to be. Because I feel like the JS survey, if you go back, 5 years ago, there was React, there was Angular, there was Vue. And now in the framework world, considering we've crossed into server land and all the permutations and React server components, that it's harder to draw clean boxes. And I noticed that when I was looking through this survey too, that it gets a little bit weird to do head-to-head comparisons.
Yeah, that's fair. In addition to like the front-end frameworks that people could vote on or say they've used and they are familiar with, TanStack Start got a 50% write-in. It was the biggest one that got written in for meta frameworks that people are interested in and excited about. Yeah.
Heck yeah, let's go.
I remember we complained when the survey came out that it wasn't a pre-populated option. We were mad about TanStack Start and we were mad about Front-End Fire not getting checkboxes.
Right? Come on,
Next
guys.
year for sure.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they also asked people in these different sections to list their biggest pain points with either libraries, frameworks, meta frameworks. Excessive complexity came in first, pretty much to be expected, especially when you start talking about the meta frameworks. And the next one was just Next.js, like full stop, nothing, just...
That's just a pain point.
Pain point, Next.js.
Nothing but pain coming out of it. Wow.
Well,
yeah.
Geez. So the biggest takeaway I had from looking through this entire survey was that the Vercel tooling did not come off looking very good at all. So Next is still pretty heavily used, but the percentage of people that are happy with Next took a pretty steep drop. It was down to 55% having a positive sentiment, where it was 89% 3 years ago. So it's kind of been falling pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then secondarily, the one that took me a little bit more by surprise, but maybe it shouldn't have, is TurboPack. Did not look that great in this survey either. Mm-hmm. So only 66% of users of TurboPack have a positive sentiment. Compare that to Vite, which is 98%.
Yes.
And even looking at the write-in comments for TurboPack, there's a lot of people that aren't super happy with it. It took me a little bit by surprise. I didn't expect it to
weird.
Be.
I mean, it's new and it's fast. So
relatively
why
new.
would you not like it?
I
don't know.
I would guess that it has to do with the fact that TurboPack was in beta for so long, and you couldn't. Even if you turned it on, sometimes it just wouldn't work with your current Next.js configuration if it was an older version or if it was something that wasn't using the app router or stuff like that. I'm going to guess it was that. It was like annoying. You tried to upgrade your dependencies, everything broke, and you're just like, well, screw that. Back to Webpack. I go.
There were also a lot of people complaining about it just being proprietary and essentially just coupled to Next.js and not super happy about that. So I think that drives some of the negative sentiment as well. But
sure.
Overall, people are still using Vercel tools. There's still a lot of big numbers for Vercel hosting, for Next.js and whatnot. But the sentiment is definitely taking a hit.
Yeah. Interestingly, or maybe not, Express still is like the dominating backend framework of choice, even with all the new options. It just continues to be the
Keeps
one.
going.
It just
Yeah.
works. It just works.
And people like it. Like it's
Yeah.
got above an 80% sentiment. So yeah, it's good enough for what everybody needs to do on the back end.
Exactly.
Zod usage increased year over year by 12%, which was the biggest jump of libraries.
Love it. Love it.
Yep.
Yes.
And Chart.js, which apparently was a write-in last year, was first place for graphics and animation section because they had a separate one just for data visualization. So I'm actually kind of surprised that Chart.js wasn't included last year because it's been around for years.
Yeah.
It's well into its 4th or 5th version at this point. It's a great library. Yeah.
Claude loves it too. Anytime you ask for, as someone who builds a lot of like
It
quick
likes Chart.js.
dashboards for projects, man, like Claude just loves Chart.js.
Invariably.
It's-
I'm gonna use Chart.js
Yeah.
boss.
In terms of IDEs, VS Code is still the dominant factor as well, 84% market share, despite Cursor, which Cursor has 26. So Cursor is definitely growing and like coming up fast, but VS Code still is dominating, and Windsurf has 4%, which is even behind ones like Sublime, which have been around forever.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Sublime has like 8% usage or some little
Sublime.
bit like that. I know.
Yeah, the
Nothing but
Windsurf
basically
number.
Hilarious.
a text box.
Windsurf
Oh my
number made me sad a little bit. I think they were really hurt by their whole acquisition / shenanigans with Google. It doesn't seem like many people are still on the Windsurf bandwagon.
I've
just
heard
feel-
good things. I occasionally people like jump into my DMs and just are raving about Windsurf. So I don't know. It's kind of, I guess, love-hate thing.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT usage is down this year, 60%, which is down from 68% usage by developers last year. GitHub Copilot is up to 51%. And Claude is at 44%, which is twice as high as it was last year. So it went from 22 to 44 overnight, which makes sense when we talk about some of the other headlines of just what Anthropic is doing in general. But
Yeah,
wow.
Claude Code is burning it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, Claude Code, Anthropic just raised a whole bunch of money, a Series G that they announced this week. And as part of that, they said Claude Code usage has doubled since the beginning of 2026. So it's growing like crazy.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
In a month
know.
and a half.
Yes.
What?
Wow. That is, wow,
That
So I
is
expect
nuts.
that number to go up more, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're not writing JavaScript or TypeScript, you're most likely going to reach for Python or PHP as the next top 2 languages that developers use. And PHP really surprised me. I guess I'm just not a WordPress dev. I never have been. So, but yeah.
I'm guessing it's WordPress just because we know WordPress is like the biggest platform for deploying sites on the web. And so I have to imagine most of that is people just custom WordPress installs or something they want to do that.
Laravel.
Jack, you think it's something else?
No, I mean, I think there's Laravel in there. Laravel's real good. I think when people think about PHP, at least me, like I tend to just go in my like 10-year-old PHP rabbit hole where it's like, oh God, this is a horrible language, and not realize that like PHP's actually made like really big strides since I worked on it. So
Yeah.
it's actually like it's a good language, you know? Yeah, no.
And I feel like the Python's become kind of the main scripting language that people use, and especially in the context of AI. And AI tools.
It's glue. It's a glue language for
Yeah.
AI.
Claude also loves Python scripts too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Bash and Python. My Claude loves to bash.
Sometimes
rip
I
it
love
through.
Bash, man. Yeah, absolutely. I've had it write a whole bunch of convenience Bash scripts for me for things.
Let's see. So AI code generation increased from 20% to 29% year over year. And that's, I guess, devs who are saying that they're using AI to generate their code, but which honestly seems a little low. But I guess maybe it was only within the last 6 months tops that really, like, it's become a lot more reliable or a lot more quality as long as you're keeping an eye on what the agent is doing. So depending on when the survey came out, and I can't remember exactly when it was, it may just be that it still wasn't quite there yet, where you just hit, enter every time it asks you to
Opus
approve
4.5,
change.
Opus 4.6 have been that's where a lot of developers were like, oh, okay, this is actually writing code. This is writing code the way I would have written code.
Yeah.
And 20% to 29% is still 50% increase. So that's still a sizable jump too.
Yeah. Udemy is still ranked as the number one thing that people are using to learn outside of just general work, which surprised me. It's still 13% lower than last year, people who said they were using Udemy, but it's still
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's still the number one. And basically everybody in the learning resources, tutorials, newsletters, YouTubers, podcasters, basically everybody except for Free Code Camp declined by at least a few percentage points. And I'm going to guess it's AI again.
It's AI.
It's for sure AI.
It's for
AI
sure
overviews.
Or
as much as we hate
AI
them.
in general. Like, if you're in the context of working on something and you're like, it's like, oh, we're going to use the web such and such API. And you're like, well, what is that? And then you get like a customized tutorial on this API, and you're like, why would I go anywhere else? Why would I need somebody to tell me about this?
Exactly. I feel like AI is completely destroying this market, because I'm not thinking if there's some API I want to use. In the past, I might have went out and looked for a tutorial, and I still might do that a little bit, but my first go is definitely to just ask Claude or ChatGPT as a first step, and that's going to eliminate so much of that. And it's somewhat sad, but it's also reality.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, though, what is Free Code Camp doing to game the system where they have more users or more people who say that they're visiting them, and everybody else's numbers are pretty much down across the board?
Well, they're less, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're less learning and more about, I think it's just the whole boot camp thing is still, because if you still see that as, a lot of people see that as a gateway into getting their first job. And so I think that nature, so you're not going there just to learn some APIs. You're also using that to like essentially bootstrap your career. So that's at least my theory.
And then I guess the last and the biggest takeaway is thank you to the 28 people who wrote in Front End Fire as one of your podcast resources.
You rock.
We were the top written in podcasts, and so hopefully that gets us on the map for next year, because we want our checkbox in here.
Exactly.
Hopefully being number one in the written in section gets us there.
Got to get automatic promotion. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really interesting survey. It was fun to go through and see what's risen to the top. Like TJ said at the beginning, Vite and Vitest are still just fan favorites the world over. Playwright is really popular. Everybody seems to really like Playwright as well. But yeah, it's really interesting to see kind of what trends keep going and which ones change. I expect next year TanStack Start is going to be all over a lot of this. So yeah, it's very cool.
And we do think that looking through these surveys, this is the number one survey for what we do. So if you look over the results of any of these surveys ever, this is the one to do. So we have the link in the show notes. We highly recommend just perusing through. You could take 10, 20 minutes, just kind of skim through, get a sense of what people are using, what they're doing. I think it's incredibly valuable and worth a little bit of your time.
All right. Well, so AI is changing the education landscape and how we do all that. Well, how is it changing the way we work, TJ?
So Harvard Business Review published this big study that they've been working on for apparently 8 months. And the result of this has made some waves on social media. It's kind of been making the rounds because it doesn't come out looking the greatest for the future of software development in an AI world. And so I'll just read you the first paragraph or two of this because it kind of spells out the whole thing. So they say that in our research, we discovered that AI tools didn't reduce work, they consistently intensified it. In an 8-month study of how generative AI changed work habits at a US-based technology company with around 200 employees, we found that employees worked at a faster pace took on a broader scope of tasks and extended work hours into more hours of the day, often without being asked to do so. Importantly, the company did not mandate AI use on their own. On their own initiative, workers did more because AI made doing more feel possible, accessible, and in many cases, intrinsically rewarding. But then where it falls into the kind of negative part of this, it says, while this sounds like a dream come true for business leaders and such, the changes brought about by enthusiastic AI adoption can be unsustainable, causing problems down the line. Once the excitement of experimentation fades, workers can find that their workload has quietly grown and feel stretched from juggling everything that's suddenly on their plate. That workload creep can in turn lead to cognitive fatigue, burnout, and weakened decision-making. The productivity surge enjoyed at the beginning can give way to lower quality of work, turnover, and other problems. So they go into their methodology. They did it through in-person observation 2 days a week, tracking internal communication, more than 40 in-depth interviews across engineering, product design, and research and operations. So it's kind of the first review that I've seen that's done in a very systematic way of how AI has changed kind of how we work, not the specifics of a lot of the studies you see with this are just like, does Claude make good code? And this is more, how does this affect the day-to-day operations of the humans that are using these sort of tools? Mm-hmm. And like I said, it doesn't come out looking the greatest.
Well, I think it's turning us from developers into reviewers. And that's a huge shift because we're spending most of our time just looking at code that we didn't get to write. Mm-hmm. That's actually the Freudian slip, but that's what it really is. I mean, I enjoyed writing code, and there was a cadence to it where you could like have, use some decision-making time, and then you get some like kind of more downtimey as you're just kind of methodically writing the code. Mm-hmm. And now it's just like, it's just decisions. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this good? Is this bad? And it's like, you just get whoa after a while. Yeah.
There's a lot less of that flow state that I think a lot of us loved as developers, where like your mental model is there, you're firing on all cylinders, you've got documentation open, you're testing stuff in the browser, you're seeing the feedback and kind of like inching towards the correct solution.
Yeah.
And Claude's, and now it's not. You're just like, Claude, approve. And then you go and test it and you're like, Claude, this doesn't work. Fix it. And Claude does its thing. And 5 minutes later, you're done. But that half an hour that you would have spent figuring this out yourself and coming up with that solution to make it work right is gone. Yeah. And now, like you said, we're managing it. We're not writing it or doing it.
It's funny that my number one takeaway after reading this was that I had not really thought about this consciously, but getting into that flow state is something that made me just happy to be a developer.
Yeah,
you really can dive deep on some problem and solve it and feel good about it. Mm-hmm. And I definitely get less of that satisfaction in an AI world. Like I'll tell Claude to do something and then I won't stay on task because Claude will think even for like 10, 15 seconds, and then my mind goes elsewhere, or it just screws with my workflow. And I'm starting to learn better as we're getting deeper into this being just our new reality. But I don't know, it just my day doesn't feel as smooth as it used to be, if that makes sense.
And I think
it doesn't feel smooth at all. It's just like, kind of work.
It's more disjointed.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I've always thought about when they talk about how you can have multiple models working on either the same feature and have 2 or 3 of them doing it in different ways, or you can have multiple agents doing different features, is like the amount of context switching still comes at a cost for us as people, because our brains just cannot move that quickly from thinking about one feature to another or whatever. So yes, you have 3 models working on 3 different things, but you still have to take the time to like refocus on what it is that each one is doing and figure out if it's the right stuff or if it works with the rest of the code or what have you. And that's a big cost. And that's kind of like one of the reasons why I don't want to run multiple models at once, is because I can't just switch that quickly. And I don't want to. I want to just kind of like focus on what I'm doing and finish it and then move on to the next thing.
gets into the review fatigue that Jack was talking about too. I mean, reviewing has been a big part of our job forever. We're never going to totally get away with it. But because these AI tools have made the creation process easier, it's like there's more output heading our way that, like you said, Paige, still needs to be, you still can't just blindly merge into production. And so those steps become just a bigger percentage part of our day. And I think it does reduce job satisfaction, just how fun it is to be a software developer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've noticed myself recently. Claude has this thing where every time you talk to it, right, it ends every interaction with kind of a prompt for more, like, what do you think, blah, 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 blah. And after a while, you're just like, shut up, man. Like, the conversation's over, bro. Like, I was done like 3 things ago, and now you're just like pushing me to like, what do you want to do about this? What do you want to do about that? Like, I don't want to be asked about that. Actually, I'm done. I'm kind of like, just like, leave me alone for the day. And yeah, so I definitely getting some burnout on it, which is not great. Because there is that, like, you can go up to the top of the mountain so quickly. It's like a helicopter ride to the top of the mountain. And then you realize that, like, that's not as fun as having climbed the mountain. Like, It's not as memorable as when you get to the top of the mountain and you're like, whoa, look at this vista. Like, you didn't earn it. It's just like, boom, it's just there. And you don't really feel any pride of ownership about it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of weird. Yeah.
They have a quote here at the end that said, several participants noted that although they felt more productive, they did not feel less busy and often felt busier than before, which I can totally sympathize with. And unfortunately, this article doesn't have much in terms of recommendations other than they do say that the promise of generative AI lies not only in what it can do for work, but in how thoughtfully it is integrated into the daily rhythm. Our findings suggest that without intention, AI makes it easier to do more, but harder to stop. So what they mean by intention is having clear expectations of guidelines in place, like maybe don't talk to Claude on your break, right? Like take a clean stop at the end of the day, take a clean stop to take some break. The nature of these agents is that you'll be at lunch, but then the prompt will come back. So you'll feel the need to say, no, you got this a little bit wrong. Do it this way. But there's importance in having clean time away. Your brain just works better when it has clean logical breaks in the day.
Exactly.
It's becoming like our email inboxes or our notification channels where it's on your phone. It's pinging you all the time. You can't.
Yeah. We used to be safe from that.
Right.
Oh my God. When it actually can like reach out and touch me, like as opposed to me prompting to, oh God, that's gonna be, yeah.
And this article spawned a whole bunch of discourse on X and probably on Hacker News and stuff like that. But people were talking about how they've started developing, or they've seen their friends and coworkers start to develop these compulsive behaviors where they're checking their agents constantly to see how close to being done on a task they are, or they're spinning up new stuff, or it's become, you need to be aware of your screen time or your agent time, I guess, and remember to take breaks, because it sounds like it can get into a really addictive pattern very quickly, especially now that everybody can have it on their phone if they want to and everything else.
Yep. So I guess that's probably the main advice for people listening to this. I think this is our new reality, so we're not going to totally get away from this, but just keep an eye on how often you're using these tools, whether you're taking breaks. Keep your mental health in mind. Life is not all about managing our AI agents. There are other there are other things you may want to do.
There are other things to do?
It still amazes me, but if you talk to people who are not in the tech industry, they are not using this stuff at all. They are unaware of it. They're living their lives. They're going out and doing stuff, and they are fine. Yep. So it is a very, very small bubble that we live inside, where AI is just the only thing we can focus on. But the rest of the world does not care.
They don't care. Exactly. AI is how I get a little bit of help on my, on my email to like tone it down or whatever, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Go talk to regular people if you need a refresher of what's going on.
I've been working on this lighting project that I've got. Like, so I've got this lantern that's got Fresnel lenses. It's really cool. Anyway, the solution that we came up with, Claude and I, has like a lot of soldering in it, like a lot of soldering, a lot more than I've ever done before. And it was actually cool to just like totally just zone out and get into soldering, and it felt productive. And like last night I kind of turned it on and just let it roll, and I was like so proud and happy of this with this thing. And yeah, you know, AI helped me design it, but I actually physically went and did all the work to make it actually happen. And yeah, there's really something to that, you know? Yeah. All right. Well, I love poop.
Explain.
Explain. Talking about, well, it doesn't everybody though. It is not a virus. It is a hacking toolkit that's being used on Next.js in the real world to exploit the RSC, but really not RSC vulnerabilities with Next.js. So the vulnerability that we're talking about is the CVE that came out a couple months ago, and it has to do primarily actually with server functions. So what's happening is that you send a specific payload to a non-upgraded Next.js server, and because of the way that the app writer processes in its middleware incoming server function requests, you can actually run stuff on the server. And this ILOVEPOOP vulnerable implementation is yet another brown bag out there for folks to hack into sites, and it's being deployed in the real world. So it's gone sort of off the shelf of white hat hackers into the realm of folks installing Bitcoin miners, installing malware, doing all kinds of stuff. And it's not just one or two threat actors, it's a lot of threat actors. So folks are really using this thing. And if you're just listening to this, like, please upgrade your Next.js apps, even if they don't use server functions, even if they just have APIs, all of it. You can, and I actually did this as an experiment last night. Because I wanted to do a video on showing how TanStack Start is not actually susceptible to this attack. You just spin up a Next.js app writer app. Literally, like, that's it. Like, it's the stock app. It has no server functions. It's literally just a home page, completely static, and you can run this React shell against it and go and get all kinds of stuff out of it. And I was actually able to have it send me, like, I put in a Stripe API token, just a random one I just came up with, and put it into the environment. Still haven't made a change to the app, and I was able to run React shell and get the Stripe key off of that server and have it sent to another server and see it. So it is a real one. It's shockingly heavy vulnerability, and it is actually being used in the real world.
That's the downside of security exploits in 2026. You can have Claude read the CVE and just say, build me a tool that will exploit this vulnerability in people that haven't updated. And, Claude or whatever will build that up for you. And so it's even more important that you, A, keep tabs on these so that when these exploits come up, you know about them, and B, you upgrade to fix them as fast as possible. And
for what it's worth,
unfortunately,
by the way,
that's
I didn't
where
use
we're
Claude to do it. Like, there is a GitHub repository. It's not ILOVEPOOP. ILOVEPOOP you can't get, like, just in general. And by the way, I'm loving having said that. I think the reason why they do that is that they make names like that is because they want people to say those words in, like, a boardroom. They want to hear Guillermo say that when he's talking about the CVE. He's like, the ILOVEPOOP CVE, like, whatever.
The malicious corgi compromise.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just, like the dumbest thing you can have people say. But yeah, no, this was kind of, I think, the original one, and the original React shell. It's been patched. You can go and do that. But the problem with this whole React shell thing is that they're not actually, they haven't closed the hole entirely. What they're doing is they're sanitizing the input. So they're looking for the signatures of malicious content and saying, okay, well, no, they're not going to have that. But that's not really the fix. I mean, the fix is this app that doesn't have a server function shouldn't respond to server function requests. Like, just straight up. Like, they're, it shouldn't even have the vulnerability, but like it should be 100% closed. But the problem is that they can't really 100% close it. And that's worrisome. All right. Well, do we have any lightning round this week?
We do. We have some funner stuff.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Let's go into a lightning round. Let's talk about more funner stuff.
All right. Did you watch the Super Bowl, Jack or Paige?
Oh, yeah.
Some of it.
Yeah.
Did you see the advertisement for AI.com?
I did, and I went to AI.com, and it 500'd on me right away.
I
Perfect.
missed that. I'll have to look it up.
Well, did you know that AI.com was the most expensive publicly disclosed domain name purchase in history? So,
and
I believe it.
When it 500s, that is worth every penny. That's
yeah,
great.
Exactly. So the CEO and co-founder of Crypto.com, because of course,
here we go.
Purchased the domain name of AI.com for $70 million because why not? And then ran this Super Bowl ad. And then during the actual game, there was people getting all sorts of different 500 errors. And currently all you can do on this site is just reserve your username. And that's really all that the advertisement was showing. But people are kind of upset because the people that did get through noticed that in order to claim your name, you have to provide a credit card. So not the greatest for a tool that doesn't even exist and we don't even really know what it does. They claim that it'll eventually be a tool for, I don't know, some sort of agent, something. Oh, here we are. Future agents intended to manage calendars and automate workflows.
Oh, so it's OpenClaw.
It's probably an OpenClaw wrapper.
Yeah.
But we don't know because it doesn't exist.
Who knows?
And,
exactly.
So I thought that was fun. The one fun part of this story is that the person who sold this domain was a Malaysian entrepreneur, a guy by the name of Arshan Ismail. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but he bought the domain years ago because those were his initials.
Yes.
That is so awesome.
That is.
This is so cool.
Yes.
And he just made an absolute crap ton of money because he just randomly bought the domain with his initials. And
oh my God,
I just
hilarious.
love that detail.
Yeah, that is great. I love it.
Okay, so for those of us who didn't see the commercial, it's supposed to be some kind of, is it a social network? Or like you said, it's OpenClaw, but for regular people who don't know how to set up and don't want to set up OpenClaw?
The commercial is wildly vague, which is why I went to it. I was like,
it's purposely vague, yeah.
What is this?
Everybody was just intrigued more than anything.
Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. But they paid $70 million for the domain to make that happen.
I love that it's some guy and it was his initials and that's why he bought it. No other reason.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, because you're like, okay, what could we spend $70 million on that's better than this? I can't imagine.
Well, another thing you can do, and our other kind of fun bonus news is I got an email this week from Adobe Acrobat, which normally I'm not all that interested in emails from Adobe Acrobat. But this one said that I could now generate podcasts from my PDFs. And I saw this news and I had to drop everything in order to do this because that's the sort of person I am. And what's funny is that I was very ready to just come on this show and completely mock this as being dumb, right? Like, why would I want to generate a podcast from these PDFs? But then I tried it, and it's actually kind of good.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem.
It's actually a really kind of smart idea.
For no work.
Yeah. What's funny is that in the IoT world, just the nature of that world, there's a bunch of different modules and there's some very dense material that often are distributed in PDFs. And so I had some to test with and I ran them through here and it generated a pretty decent little podcast to give you an overview of what you were looking at. And they had two different options. One would make like a 5-minute-ish quick version, and then you could do a deep dive that was longer. And it was strangely compelling as just a way of summarizing a PDF. And so, I don't know. I was all ready to bash on this, and then actually I found it pretty cool.
I mean, this is great, and it's also just going to increase the amount of junk on YouTube and on
Yeah.
Spotify just immensely if we can make PDFs into podcasts.
Yep. I mean, it was clearly generated whatever, but I could see myself using this because if somebody gave me a PDF and I had to, summarize it to get vaguely familiar with it, clicking this button and just putting it on while I'm doing something around the house is kind of compelling and something I could totally see myself doing.
I don't know. I'm starting to like really dislike the way that AI says stuff. Like it has this like neutral cadence where it always speaks in 6, 7, whatever 10 word sentences, and it kind of like
yep. And this
it's
definitely
got this
had that.
that flow to it, and it's like I started using Claude in the car just for fun, and then I stopped because I was like, I don't like the way, I just don't like it doesn't talk like a human talks. Humans talk kind of like a little bit, a long bit, and it just and it's funny. iHeartRadio does a whole bunch of podcasts, and their new like tagline coming into it was always something like always human or something like absolutely guaranteed human. And you're like, yeah, I get it. Actually, I get that. I get wanting that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had the same kind of experience with ChatGPT. If I'm using the text to voice feature and it'll talk back to me, and after a while you just get tired of it pausing at weird spots that I know it's trying to do it exactly what people do of like breath intake or pausing to gather your thoughts and say the next thing, but it doesn't do it at the right times. So it just,
you could tell it's an algorithm that's generating it for sure.
It sounds stilted. And it's great once in a while, but yeah, I'm not gonna be talking to my phone all the time like that. I just no.
And I want it to tell me I'm an idiot sometime. It rarely does.
It will never do that.
It tries so hard. It's like, should I eat 15 bags of M&Ms? Yes, that's a great idea. You go for it. Have at it. All right. Any more lightning news?
Yes.
All right.
You take it, Paige.
All right. Well, we use Buzzsprout as our posting and dispersing of the podcast platform, and they sent us a little email earlier this week that we reached 100,000 downloads for the entirety of this podcast. So
what? Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody who's listened, who's downloaded, who's told your friends about us. We very much appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hold on. I got this. For some reason, the sound clip is 36 seconds. I don't think we don't need 36 seconds of cheering.
Yeah.
No.
But yes. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, very absolutely. Cool. Thank you so much. All right. Well, that's making me happy. Let's talk about what's making us happy.
Let's do it.
TJ, what's making you happy this week?
So Ubuntu is making me happy. So I've been continuing my OpenClaw experiment, and Claude and I got Ubuntu running on my 12-year-old MacBook Pro.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's running.
That's
and
impressive.
It's running great. I've been impressed. The one problem I ran into was getting Wi-Fi to work.
Oh.
Which, it's like the classic Linux thing of just something randomly not being, some driver not being built in. What I discovered, though, through Claude, of course, is that I had no idea this was possible, but it had me plug my phone, connect my phone to my laptop as a way of using my phone as a hotspot, which I had never done before because I've only done, a wireless hotspot where you enable it on your phone. I had no idea that you could physically connect and use that because it needed that because the laptop didn't have Wi-Fi. Obviously, it couldn't download the drivers that I needed because I needed drivers that weren't built into the core Ubuntu image or whatever. So I hotspotted through a USB connection to my phone so I could get the drivers that it needed to make Wi-Fi work. And then I was able to connect to Wi-Fi, and then I was back in business again.
Wow.
Yeah, but other than that, everything just worked. I now have OpenClaw running on it. The one thing I got wired up this week is I now set up something similar to Jack has, where I get digests, where it just summarizes the front end world for me. That's actually how I found the AI.com news, is because OpenClaw surfaced it for me. I have it looking for more like fun and whimsical things. I like. I don't know.
I get a lot of CVE stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first thing I've done. I'm going to try to take like one step each week. So I'm going to try to wire up something new for next week as well. But for the moment, I just thought it was cool that this was a laptop that I was honestly planning on recycling. I mean, it's it's a pretty ancient MacBook, and now I've got something running on it. I've just repurposed something that I quite literally was going to trash, and that it's making me happy.
And it's quick.
It's quick enough. I mean, obviously, it's still it's an old Intel processor. It's not fast, but it's fast enough to do the npm, Node, OpenClaw. That stuff's all running just fine. So
nice.
Have you put it on Moltbook yet, so it can go and talk to its AI friends?
It is not on Moltbook. No.
Good. Don't do that.
Okay, the world we live in. All right, Paige, what you got going on?
I am going to pick the San Diego Zoo Safari Park this week.
Yeah, so good. So
I was out in San Diego last week visiting my brother-in-law and his fiance, and it was a lot of fun. Like they're such great hosts. Every time we go out there, they always think up fun things to do, and the weather was just gorgeous, which if you live in the northern hemisphere and basically anywhere beyond California, it's not gorgeous right now. It's very cold in most of the US. So we had wonderful weather, and one day we went to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, which is 1,800 acres, about, I would say, 45 minutes from the actual San Diego city area. And it's completely separate from the San Diego Zoo, which is also like world famous. But it feels very much like kind of like you're walking around the animal exhibits and the animals are just there, not necessarily that you're going through a zoo and seeing cages and stuff like that. It's much more open air. There's a tram that we took around the African savanna and saw giraffes and rhinoceroses and water buffalo and all this stuff, just kind of like in the distance. They could have absolutely just walked over the path that the tram was on, but they're just, by their feeding troughs or by the water or just chilling in the savannah somewhere. And it was super fun. We saw some platypuses, which are the only ones outside of Australia. We saw kangaroos that we could walk through the enclosure where the kangaroos were just hanging out, taking naps and laying down and just being
as
kangaroos. Yeah, as they do. They have a really cool bonsai tree section, which was super pretty. Very, very Japanese. They had some that were 400 to 500 years old, they estimated, that looked like tiny bushes, but they were little junipers and all kinds of different stuff. It was really impressive. So if that's something that you have, that you're in the area and you have time, I would really, really highly recommend it. It's very, very cool, very natural feeling. You can bring your own stuff in. So we brought a packed lunch and drinks and stuff like that. So you don't have to buy whatever the park is selling. You can just bring a backpack and a cooler and things like that. So it was very, very cool.
That is cool.
I did not know this existed. When you first brought it up, I just assumed it was like a wing of the zoo off to the side. I didn't realize. I'll have to look this up on a map because I'm just surprised they have that much land. San Diego's not exactly known for wide expanses of open territory, so.
No, and that's part of it. I think that's why it's kind of a little bit of a drive from the city proper, but still, that is a lot of acreage that they just have for animals to wander around and be kind of in their natural habitats. Is very, very cool. I didn't know about it either.
Yeah, I've been to the zoo and it was absolutely amazing. And then my wife was like, "Oh, we need to go to this other one," and I'm like, and I just don't think we had the time that time. And oh man, that's definitely on the to-do list then, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's what I want to do. Like the next time we go back, maybe we'll go to the zoo that time. But yeah, definitely worth a trip for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, what's making me happy this week is some new technology. So I got myself a Bamboo Lab H2C. So Bamboo Lab is another 3D printing company. They're the company that basically reinvigorated 3D printing. 3D printing was kind of in like the hobbyist space, and they did a lot of work to make it very, very, very accessible for like normies to go and 3D print stuff, and it kind of reinvigorated 3D printing overall. But they're a little more expensive, so I was like, oh, okay. But this one is kind of unique in that it's got a hot end exchange system that's really cool. It's like you can see this like robotic stuff changing out the hot end, so it's like You can think of it like 3D printing paintbrushes, which allows it to go and do multicolor printing a lot faster and with a lot less waste than other ones. And then it also has a laser upgrade. So now I'll be able to do laser cutting in my shop, which is very exciting. So really excited to try that out.
That is very cool. Do you have any projects in particular that you already know you want to use it for?
Some logo stuff for like keychain work for 10 stack, that kind of thing, just to try it out, just to see.
Yeah. Cool.
And then, some smaller, more detailed pieces for 3D printing. I usually do more like mechanical stuff, but just because of the capability. But yeah, no, I've been 3D printing a lot lately. We started moving over to this Gridfinity system. So in the kitchen, we've laid down these Gridfinity grids inside of the cabinets, the drawer pulls kind of thing. And you can go and make specific buckets for specific things and highly optimize your cabinet use in the kitchen, which is a big deal. We use the kitchen a lot, and being able to actually have stuff organized well is a really big deal. So there's no more junk drawer. It's an actual organized space, which is really cool. But that's all 3D printed.
Nice.
This thing looks legit. I looked it up. This is
yeah, it's a beast.
This is quite the unit. I kind of want to see this laser in action.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I can actually show you the laser in action, because it's like a laser and you're not supposed to look at the laser.
Yeah. It's cordoned off. It looks like they don't want you to get in the way of the laser.
Yeah, well, I bet I'll get a time lapse though. So maybe I'll be able to shoot you over the time lapse. It is kind of interesting because this particular model, at least it has it has glass on multiple sides, so you can kind of see it. But this one is green, really kind of thickish glass. It's you can still see through it, but not really well. So, and I think that's because of the laser. So it didn't come with goggles or anything. I've had I had a small laser for a CNC that I had, and it wasn't very good, and whatever. Mm-hmm. And that came with goggles. So, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, this is really fun. Good and amazing state of JS results this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is some of the more fun topics we've had. It's lots of cool stuff to talk about.
Exactly. I love poop.
Yeah. Got everything.
Got a little bit of everything. I don't know. Does poop get us an E, by the way? No, it's not. I don't think it's an E.
I don't think so.
You can't have a book called Everybody Poops and then have it be explicit. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if you want to join us for some more fun, go over onto our Discord channel. We are over there on the Front End Fire channel inside of the Discord server. And of course, jump onto our site, go download older episodes, and, go tell folks that you like the podcast and get them to, subscribe. We always appreciate that. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See everybody. Here's to 100,000 more downloads.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.